Greetings ladies and gents, and welcome to today's Reddit Quickie video, taken from the HFY subreddit called I Told You So, written by HellsKitchenSink. The original will be linked down below, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. Fools, said the young Hiranian. Blind, stupid, self-centered fools. Look, I paused for a moment, checking the application. For cent. I understand where you're coming from. Vacuum collapse don't seem very likely, and there are some very interesting possibilities in this proposal, but it's not safe. We'd really rather you not damage the fabric of space-time. We've had to deal with it once, and it got incredibly messy. We had to ask for help from some of the Ascended, and you know how they can be. This, from a human. What right do you have to hold back progress? You, who took decades to go from manned flight to manned spaceflight, who had nearly a century passed between landing on your moon and discovering faster-than-light travel. You have spent 10,000 years at a technological plateau. What right do you have to say that we can or cannot be done? We're still here, I said gently, holding up my hands. The poor Suphan's forehead veins were throbbing. They weren't much of a threat to me, skinny, with their comically oversized skull, set on a slender and almost mouse-like frame. But I didn't want them to hurt themselves. Besides, their IQ was easily twice mine. It'd be an awful waste of a brilliant mind. Look, I know the energy crisis on your world is rough. We've got suppliers of HE3 to help supply you until you can develop infrastructure to match your population. And we'd be happy to support you in small-scale tests in your intergalactic space, where the damage is easier to limit and keep us reliant on human resources and human homogeny. Fine. If you will not help us, there are others who will. We do not need the Department of Resources for this idea. He stood up and turned on his paws and started walking out the room. I sighed and I leaned back in my chair. That could have gone better. I'd need to send a report to keep an eye out on the attempts. If they succeeded, it would be a wonderful revolution in energy production. If they failed, their homeworld would be consumed, rendered into subatomic particles. It never ended. Debbie, who's next? It's debriefing Unit 8717, meatbag, and your next meeting is with Sofont Davani, a relax and Furian commune. He's here about the scepter problem? I said, staring up at the ceiling. Why, however did you guess? They've come up with a brilliant new solution to the issue, and are looking to be given access to genetic modification techniques. Oh God, I should turn him away, sight unseen. I sighed. Send him in. Devoni entered, beaming brilliantly, teeth flashing like diamonds, in no small part because they were. The silicon-based lifeform settled down into the chair across my desk, like a small anthropomorphic tank, and threw its arms wide. Sub-Director Valens, it's so good to see you. How's the scepter problem going, Devoni? Good. He leaned back. Well, adequate. How are those high-energy sound wave generators we gave you doing with the problem? Good. Well, not great, obviously, or I wouldn't be back here. You remember what we discovered when I came to you with that idea? That even silicon-based lifeform is built rudimentary enough to genetically survive a resonant frequency, while, for example, a vehicle or a structure often isn't. Devani smiled helplessly, shrugged with those squared shoulders. Well, the best laid plans of mice and men, as your species say. And much like the cunning mouse, Jerry, it appears that the scepter were one step ahead of us. They've begun sheltering in our colony buildings, and a few have even made it to the other colonies aboard spaceships. And, well, they're getting to a bit of a problem, so we had an idea. Yes, the Relax were very good with ideas, hyper-intelligence that became stronger with increased refrigeration, and extreme inspiration from circuit-like neural structures that wound through their entire body. Not great on impulse control. Let me guess, does the scepter have any natural predators? Why? Yes! How did you guess? Call it, human intuition. Were you thinking of, I don't know, genetically modifying those predators? Perhaps their birth rates? Ah, see, this is why you're such a good friend, Subdirector. We're refracting at the same angle. So, this predator, If it were sufficiently hungry and in sufficient numbers, do you think it could overcome the relics? An adult? Heavens, no. I mean, perhaps a small child, but... He paused. I begin to see your point. But I'm quite sure we have it under control. I rubbed my forehead. Property damage is one thing. You know I can't take this chance, Devani. If it'd harm a sophont... come now. Any deaths would be limited, and they are quite annoying. Have you ever read The Old Lady Who Swallowed a Fly? Ah, yes. Well, I don't know if the old human woman would be a very effective predator on Scepter. I really think that natural predator... The answer is no, Devani. Very well, I understand. He clapped his chin. I will come up with several new proposals. Are you free tomorrow? Not really, I said. As Debbie said, yes, he is. I glared up at the AI's camera. Penciling you in for 1 p.m. meeting. So font Devani. He's less cranky after he's eaten. Oh, the torments of blood sugar. You know, our species manufactures an implant that regulates that, ensuring I'll see that the consumer tests play out. I said, giving an apologetic smile. See you tomorrow, Devani. I leaned back and sighed as the relics shuffled. Who's next, Debbie? Indecipherably high-frequency particle bombardments of the ascended pan-neopagan. Oh, I smiled brightly, thank God. A social visit. Send him. Oh, you're already here. I raised an eyebrow with a vaguely humanoid cloud of light. I know you like to emphasize energy-type ascended beings enjoy the whole we are the gods thing, Hicks, but I remember you when you were a scrawny little Nubonobo. That's why my flesh name. You should really address me as... There was a brief click as the Geiger counter as it neutralized a burst of high-energy radiation. How have you been, Danny? I sighed. The usual. No matter how many times you tell someone to stove is hot. You do know, of course, that the offer is still open. You could always ascend. I'm good, at least for now. I smiled. Still a lot to do. Humans, always so nervous about what's to come. You'd really need to let go of the anxiety about the future. You've reached the peak. You can leave any time you like. Join the rest of the Ascended. Stop toying with being giants in the playground. Your entire species spends all of its time like a nursemaid in the younger races. Are you content to spend eternity keeping children from touching the stove? I sighed. He was too young to remember those early days when we went out into the galaxy and found nothing but ashes. It was amazing, really, how good life was at destroying itself. There's a difference between a child burning its hand and a species getting their world consumed by a biological weapon. Hicks. Besides, someday there might be a problem even you can't handle. Someone's got to keep an eye on the Surrogates anomaly and figure out who threw Andromeda at us. And it has to be you. Hicks shook his head, the light form humming softly. Well, if you ever decide that you've had enough of ingratitude and putting out fires... Emergency, meatbag, said Debbie. The Ionian Prime Minister. Ionian. I rubbed my forehead. Ionian, that's... Oh, goddammit, Hicks. I'm out of here. You know you could clean up this mess in a day, at most. I was quiet for a moment. The Ascended never help. You know why. The universe consists of like a quadrillion stars. They're all full of life. They're all full of idiots who kill themselves. I could spend the rest of eternity doing this, and it would be a drop in the bucket. So, does that make everyone into a jerk? Hey, Danny, come on. You know I do care about you. I'd intervene if it was you. But the Ionians, you told them what would happen, and they decided to do this anyway. The light figure shrugged again. It's a perspective, man. Good luck. Try not to die. He was gone, as immediately, as subtly as he had arrived. I sighed as the door opened. The Ionian entered, his gears whizzing, the machine intelligence, one of the more benign ones, who had reached sentience after their creators had killed themselves off with a biological weapon. They had been experimenting with an uninhabited nanotech. They'd been quite confident that they would not succumb to the same issue. They possessed a limited hive mind, individuals with a constant connection to one another. I liked the Ionians. They were pleasant. I'd been the one who'd agreed to their request for research on artifacts from other civilizations that had undergone the nanotech-oriented collapse. I settled my fingers together, leaning forward on them. Things have gone poorly, the Prime Minister said. We, acquired additional artifacts, We had been close to a breakthrough. The risk was thought, worth the reward. It turned out that one of them was a berserker probe in disguise. I bit back the words, the warning. There was always the temptation. You think of the problem, you see it coming, but they don't listen. But it wouldn't change what happened. I'll see if we can save your homeworld, I said, reaching out and patting the steel ridge as it passed over her shoulder on the blocking machine. Let me make some calls. I called the head director. Eliminating uninhabited nanotech, even if it was actively malevolent rather than merely feral, would be simple enough for one of the fleets. There was one close to the planet. The main question was how long it would take to arrive. Hopefully we could salvage some of it. We couldn't be everywhere, no matter how much we'd like to be. The Prime Minister left the office, bent forward under the weight of having done everything he could. I grunted as I held my stomach. The damn ulcer was acting up again. With all the medical technology available to humanity, the stress of this job still ate a hole in my gut. You ever think maybe it's not for the best? Said Debbie, lightly. I mean, who knows? Maybe it's supposed to be like this. The more life reaches this level, the more damage they can do. Maybe you're like some 19th century woodsman thinking that preventing the forest fires is helping the environment, when it's actually just going to lead to worse and more severe crises over time. I sighed. Debbie had been one of the species of genocide mechanical intelligence. Humanity did our best to re-socialize them, but she couldn't help herself sometimes. Thank you for your input, Debbie. Any more meetings today? Yeah. Looks like the Vivid Shade want to experiment with mohovoristic mining. Oh, and you'll like this. They're planning on digging the mine with naked singularity. I belched and felt a tang of acid. Send them in and order me some Pepto-Bismol. And that, my friends, is the end of this Reddit Quickie. I hope that you enjoyed. If you'd like to support this channel, there are numerous ways to do so, listed in the description down below. The easiest and best way would be to share this video and my channel as much as possible. I'll see you all in the next video, and I hope that you have a good one until then. Cheers.